Have you ever been burnt by somebody? In the sense of, has somebody ever let you down, whether it's a relationship or friendship, somebody who really kind of did something that made you hold a grudge against them for a very long time, and maybe the relationship just fell apart. And then you found yourself not being able to trust other people or other relationships that you're in down the line, even though maybe they didn't necessarily do anything to you, but you're still holding on to something. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 ways and tips for you to help you learn to trust again, to win back the trust of other people in your relationships, in your friendships, and just to help you live life easier without holding grudges or struggling through. So sit back, enjoy, and we'll get right to it. Hey guys, Jen Palco here. Today I am going to talk about loyalty. Loyalty in friendships, relationships, winning back trust when all trust has been lost. I'm going to give you 5 ways or techniques or things that you can apply to your life to help you get back that trust in people. So for a lot of us, we have an experience or we go through a time in our lives where we feel like somebody has let us down. It could be either a relationship we're in or a friendship we're in, and somebody either did something or did not do something that we expected them to, or didn't live up to how we wanted them to live up to. And in return, or as a result, our friendship either withered or we held a grudge against them. We became angry. Things kind of either fell apart or it created some kind of tension in this relationship. So I'm going to give you some ways that you can get back your trust in people. For a lot of us, we hold grudges so long that we put up a wall. And then every other relationship or friendship that comes into our lives, we start seeing the same patterns. We start worrying, we start fearing that the same thing's going to keep happening to us, that whoever we're with is going to let us down or is going to do something that just makes us so angry. So how do you get past that? The first thing is to actually deal with your emotions. Okay, the more you hang on to an emotion and hold a grudge, realize that it can become stuck in our bodies over time. So say 5 years ago, your husband or your wife left you or cheated on you or something like that. And you had all these kind of emotions stir up in you. Your reaction was not a good reaction. And what you did, you kind of buried them over time. You didn't let them come out fully. You might let them come out a little bit from time to time, but you didn't really want to show the world what you were actually feeling, or you didn't want to admit that this thing had actually happened or this situation had happened. So you bury it and you bury it and you bury it. And what you start to notice over time is that you start seeing repeated patterns in your life. So you start seeing this emotion either pop up a little bit or in other ways with other emotions. So you might have, where what was once anger or fear is now something more along the lines of just complete distrust. So what happens when you bury the emotions is the initial reaction can then become a mood, which then can become a temperament, which then, as a result, can become a personality trait for you. So it's interesting to see how, something like, anger, initial reaction of anger is for somebody cheated on you, right? It over time can actually become part of your identity, of who you are. You can just become like this angry person, and it's carrying over into other relationships in your life. So the first thing is to deal with the underlying emotion and realize that the more you bury it and don't confront it fully, that it can eventually turn into a personality trait of yours. Number 2, and this one is probably one of the most common, at least I think it is. What you think about, you always get more of. So what you think about, you always get more of. So if you are always fearing the worst in your current relationship, or every time you are with this person that you're with currently, you keep thinking back to what had happened in your past, and you keep this negative thinking up, where you have this general fear that something else is going to happen, or you have this general anger that this person's going to eventually disappoint you, you will get more of that reflected back into your life. Your life works like a mirror. All right, so what you put out, you get back. So if you're always putting out the emotions of fear and angst and just low vibration stuff, anger, despair, let down, depression, that's kind of like what vibration you're sitting at, a low vibration. So until you move up the emotional ladder at least a little bit, you're always going to see things reflecting back to you in that low vibrational state. So if you can move from something like depression up to maybe frustration or just feeling stuck, it's going to raise you up a little bit. So eventually you can get to a point where you keep going up on the emotional ladder scale and eventually get to the highest, which would be love and bliss and things like that. So just realize that what you're thinking about when you're with somebody, or what goes back to the first thing, the first tip that I mentioned, not dealing with those emotions or allowing yourself to fully feel the emotions, then you're going to be just stuck in this low vibrational state when you're with somebody, and you're going to get that attracted back to you, okay? It's law of attraction stuff. Number 3, loosen your grip on perfection. What is perfection anyway, really? We base perfection off of what we see in other people or what we think perfection means. But really there is no perfect. I mean, as a human being, or just as not as a physical human being, but just as our energetic selves in this universe, we are technically perfect. But we choose to put labels, and society chooses to put labels on things as good or bad, as perfect or imperfect. So we feel like, in a sense, we need to always live up to this perfect life that other people have. So what this does, this creates something called excess potential in our lives. Basically, putting things outside of ourselves, thinking that something is better than us, or that something outside of ourselves is going to make us happy. So this goes in relationships. So by us trying to have the perfect relationship, we are putting so much excess potential on this perfect relationship or on this particular person that it creates a lot of resistance in us, a lot of tension in us. And what happens are actually something called balancing forces come into play. So it's kind of like if you put something all the way up here, then there is so much imbalance going on where you're going to have these other forces come into effect that are going to try and neutralize. Everything in nature wants to be in balance, and this includes everything. It includes our relationships, or how we view people, or how we view situations and relationships. So if we are always trying to make our lives perfect or our friendships perfect, and we're trying, in a sense, to control somebody else's script, almost like a movie script. We're trying to control how they think, feel, and act towards us to kind of fit our mold of perfection. So when somebody doesn't do what we think they should do or what we want them to do, then this doesn't fit in with our own script of our own life, of what we've created for ourselves, what we are viewing as our perfect life, right? So if it doesn't go according to our script in our head, our perception of it, then we get angry, we get frustrated, we create a lot of tension and resistance. And what this does, we have such a grip on life that a lot of times we'll get the opposite because of these balancing forces at play. All right, so it's very interesting to think about. The more we are not only in a low vibrational state, but the more we are putting so much excess potential on a situation or on a person or trying to control somebody else's script, we realize that we can't control somebody else's script. We can't control what decisions somebody else makes because we're not living in their reality. We're living in our reality, and we can only take in our perception of what they do, but we're not living in their shoes. We don't know. So loosen the grip on life and on perfectionism, and you realize that things get a little bit easier if we go more in the flow rather than trying to control somebody or trying to put somebody up here and try and always make things perfect. That's going to create so much tension. So number 4 kind of goes along with number 3, where I talked about kind of a movie script, right? Where we can't control their people's script, but this part we can control. So if we have lived our lives and are doing things based on our past programming and based on past either traumatic events or things that have happened where we've been let down or we've been left in the dust or we've just had bad experiences with somebody, realize that we can change that. We can create a new script or a new movie slide for ourselves. Just because it's been that way for years, it doesn't mean that it has to continue on that way. It really doesn't. So it's our choice. It can be difficult because in our subconscious minds and everything that's happened, look at people with PTSD, they're reliving the experience over and over and over again. That's essentially what is happening exactly when somebody lets you down or somebody left you or you had a lot of bad breakups or relationships that just weren't healthy. That sticks with you in your mind, and what happens is your brain is always trying to search for the same pattern all the time, and this eventually will come out in your other relationships and reflect with other people. So instead of always living in fear, worry, all these low vibrational states that help us live in our past, change it to actually highlighting the positive in your day-to-day life. So I like to consider almost like, imagine that you have a highlighter and everything in your day, you highlight only the good stuff and you ignore the bad stuff that happens, the negative stuff, when the negative emotions start creeping up, and you replace it with something you highlighted. Okay, so you focus on only the positive things and feelings of being grateful and stuff like that. And that will help you kind of shift your mindset a little bit. But you have to do this consistently. You can't do it like once a month and think that, you're just going to change your view on people or just wake up one day and be like, oh, I can trust this person 100%. No, if you've had years and years of being ingrained with this stuff where you just relive it or you're burying the emotions for one, so you're not really confronting them fully, but if you've had years where you're just reliving the experience in all your other relationships, and every time you enter a new relationship with somebody, could be a friendship or it could be, a husband, wife, whatever it is, you keep those feelings keep popping up of worry, of fear. So until you change that and you actually create new circuits in your brain, new connections, your brain's always going to relive the same patterns. It's always going to search for the same things over and over again, because that's what it does. So until you create new patterns in your brain and connections in your brain doesn't know any better. It's going to always revert back to how you always act or react. Okay, number 5 is to understand that your world is always taking care of you. Your world is always taking care of you. Anything that happens or has happened was for a good reason, something we can learn from. So kind of think about where you are now, the relationship you're in now. If you didn't go through that past experience that you had, would you be where you are today? Would you be with this person? Would you have the friendships that you have? So if you can find the advantage in any situation, as bad as it is, and realize that if that didn't happen, you might not be where you are here, could be a whole different ball game for you. So if you let the world take care of you, if you kind of just go with things, you don't fight everything, you don't resist everything, and you realize that, okay, past relationship, this person left me, this person, our friendship just blew up and fell apart. Well, there's a good chance that that person was not meant to be with you, that they were completely out of alignment with you. And maybe you just didn't realize it yet. So usually when something blows up or falls apart, there's a reason behind it. It's not just because, if you're hanging on to somebody so much, I want you to just kind of shift the thinking a little bit and be like, well, was this person really good for me anyway? And if I was still with him or her, then I might not be here where I am today. So if you can find the advantage in any situation, as bad as it is, then you will really live your life more fulfilled and be able to trust people again, and allow yourself to trust people again, and find that you attract more loyal friendships and relationships to you. So that's all I got for today. And if you like this video, please subscribe for more. I put out a video every single morning. And comment below if you have any questions. And other than that, I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.